If you want to translate, let's say, a document in a domain of education, what's the trick we use? We go to Google Translate, sentence by sentence you put it in and get the translation, correct all of those. Right? Very time consuming. And dynamic voice recognition, like you speak, whatever you speak, and I will recognize you, was never an option in a big way. So if you see, majority of the use cases were fixed menu options. Press 1 to go there, press 2 to go here. If you remember those days, right? Local language interfaces, non-existent, more or less. When you see the first MOU that EkStep did was with Supreme Court of India to help think about document translation of judicial documents. Such a big possibility, because judicial documents are so precise documents and their precision has to be maintained. You cannot create a new document from an existing judgment. That will become a new judgment, right? You have to preserve the document, right? Over 100,000 such documents have been translated over the last 4 or 5 years by Supreme Court and High Court translators, leveraging this technology. And that uses the models built by AI4Bharat. If you have a reasonable understanding of the diversity of number of variations of the language people speak, right? First, regionally it is different, right? And in certain cultural contexts also it varies, right? So in some sense, the art of digitizing, I call it an art of digitizing, is to first develop a deep understanding of the language and its variations. By region, by kind of a cultures that people represent who speak those, and then go about devising the strategy for collecting those voice samples. Right? It's an art. And also it's very extensive. How many different ways people speak those terms is something we have to capture. That means, again, the art of data collection has to have the specific bent of focus for that vertical. It's agriculture, finance, or common usage terms, etc. The initial stage of digitizing Indic languages, in some sense, becomes the first step of the whole process. The models have, in fact, first time created a possibility for every common man to speak in their language and interact with technology. Let's say their phones, right? They can actually interact in a voice with large-scale systems and get what they want, first time, right? This possibility has been around for 30 years, but possible at scale for major Indian languages, that's a big story, right? And that is very exciting. What you see today is the work of easily 100 NLP practitioners and AI4Bharat, the models that they have produced. Major languages, all the diversity in that language. In some sense, think about it as a collective, okay? It's not one piece of story. AI model can be trained with multiple pieces of data, right? So everybody's data collectivization efforts matter, right? It matters very heavily because each one of them bring their art to it, right? And their own variation to it. Second, there are those languages that do not have significant written text and spoken by significant majority of people. As those languages come in some sense, I see this is a doorway for digital empowerment and inclusion. And especially with Gen AI coming in, it can get even better. So in summary, therefore, this is from a digital inclusion perspective, empowerment perspective, path to prosperity perspective, and a better livelihood, very, very important step.